Good morning, fight fans. This is Bizarre Podcast, Dogs Must Die. You can call me Grant, you can call him Chip, and this is a show where we are going to be watching through JoJo's Bizarre Adventure 3 episodes at a time. Are you excited?
I don't know what word to express it, because it's more than excited for me. I don't know. This is, so... You got into Gundam, like, what, a year and a half ago, something like that?
Yeah, I think it was like spring of 2019.
Okay, yeah. And then when you started getting into that, I was like, oh, cool, he's into Gundam. You know, I haven't watched a ton of it, but I've liked what I watched. And then, like, you would sometimes tweet screenshots from that, and then all of a sudden you were tweeting screenshots from some other not Gundam and not mecha things. I was like, oh, shit, he's watching Mob Psycho 100? Cool. And then... briefly remember like a joke tweet I made in reply to someone else like a year or two ago going like, haha, let's just do a podcast talking about JoJo. And then I made that joke again after you had tweeted about anime. It's like, wait, I could get over to watch this maybe.
So yeah, if you're listening to this because you're familiar with our Let's Plays, which is probably true since it's episode 1 after all, the usual dynamic is here in full force.
Oh yeah.
Whereas you know what you're talking about. You're to lead me down the hand through this path as I experience it with fresher eyes. Why don't you start by telling us what JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is and what you expect to get out of this experience, this program we are producing?
Right. So yeah, I will also clarify one thing. While I know a lot more about JoJo, I will clarify that I have only seen all of JoJo through what the anime has adapted, which is the first 5 parts. JoJo, as a manga, is in part 8 right now. So I have no knowledge. I have very little knowledge beyond 5, but that's a lot of show.
If I recall correctly, you've read some of it, but you're not reading ahead then.
Yeah, I was reading ahead at one point because I just couldn't wait for the next episode to come out. But at this point, yeah, I have not. I have all of Part 6 on my hard drive ready to read. I just haven't gotten to it because it's a lot to read. Yes, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, originally a manga created by Hirohiko Araki in 1987. It is a long-running manga and now anime that is still going to this day. Like the name implies, it's just a fucking weird thing. When like I suppose it is like a shonen manga / anime. It is a lot of fighting, you know, chapter to chapter, episode to episode. But JoJo has a legacy of introducing a lot of shonen elements that have become popular over the years, or just doing things no one else would dare to do because it's too fucking weird. It's responsible for a couple ideas that get used by other anime and video games all the time. One of the big things being the idea of stands. Rather than having the person themselves fight, they have sort of a projection of their soul that fights for them. One of the big ones being Persona, with their personas. Those are just basically JoJo stands. And now, while I'm talking about some of these iconic things, the beginning of JoJo might not have some of those things from the get-go, because JoJo, part of the reason why it's so interesting is that from part to part, it is constantly changing what it actually is. Well, there's a through line throughout all of JoJo in that it's weird almost from the get-go, and there's a lot of fighting and battles and stuff. The format of the show and the way it tells its stories changes throughout. So it from part to part, it never really feels like it's treading the same water. But for this podcast, yeah, we're going to be, I suppose, kind of recapping 3 episodes at a time, hearing your impressions of what the fuck is going on in the show, because I'm at a point where...
I don't do impressions. I do impersonations.
You do impersonations, sure. JoJo is a show in a manga that still manages to surprise me on a consistent basis, but going back to the original stuff, it feels so tame to me now, and I gotta get pulled back into that fresh mindset of people reacting to this stuff for the first time. I guess before we get into it, I should also mention, if you have not watched JoJo and you've been meaning to get into it, and this makes you want to start watching it along with us or something, there's a couple places to watch it. This time around for the podcast, we have been watching it on Netflix. You can also watch it for free on Crunchyroll. You just won't get the HD versions there unless you have a subscription. The Crunchyroll version only has the Japanese dub. We're listening to the English dub this time around. I've watched the whole show in Japanese.
It makes it so much easier to take notes while watching.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. I agree. The one caveat, and I didn't know this until I started watching the episodes, is that season 1 of JoJo on Netflix is the broadcasted censored version. So a lot of the violence has like black...
Really?
Yeah, a lot of the violence has like a black gradient over it, so you can't really make out the violence too much. Because, in the uncensored versions, like in one of the very first scenes, there is like just an ultra-violent like death. Like, it already happened, but like a corpse that is impaled through its face by wood. And that's just fully drawn in the frame. It's just on the Netflix version. It's mostly covered in black, so you can only see the silhouette. So yeah, if that bothers you for some reason, you want to see the really ridiculous late 80s anime gore, go watch it on Crunchyroll, I guess. But yeah, other than that, that's JoJo. Without spoiling things, but I will say one other thing about JoJo. Even if you spoil JoJo for somebody, they won't absorb the information. Even if you tell them exactly what is... Before I ever watched JoJo, my friend Mario, who was way into it, was telling me spoilers for part 4. Like, literally, the ultimate final boss of season 4, this is how his powers work, all this stuff. And I went, fucking what? And I, laughed my ass off and then did not believe him. And then that's exactly what happened. So, yeah, I won't be, hinting at spoilers or anything like that, but even if I did, it probably wouldn't matter.
All right, well, let's get to those spoilers and talk about what happens in episode 1, Dio, the Invader.
Ooh.
So immediately as it opens, I'm starting to rethink my question to go with the dub, because these people sound like they fell out of a community theater production of Oliver.
Yeah, so I had never really paid much attention to the English dub, and I really want to know what it sounded
like. The elder
like.
Brandos are, they're a treat.
Yeah, yes.
I think that the worst English accent has to be the dearly departed, sainted Mrs. Brando. But Dario, he sounds half Australian sometimes.
Yeah. The accents in the start of this season are all over the place.
But these people I've mentioned, they are introduced as highway robbers who are coming to, like vultures, pick over the recent kill of this gentle dandy who has had a horrible carriage accident in early Victorian England.
Yeah, 1868.
And so, his body and possessions are strewn about, including the titular mask from The Mask. I didn't know that was one of the things that JoJo influenced. Stanley Ipkiss is coming any day now.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out this apparently dead man is not yet dead, and misidentifies his grave robbers as good Samaritans come to help him along, and so they instead get credit for saving the life of this fair weak dandy.
Yes, and
we love a fair weak dandy.
Yes, and on top of saving his life, before he passes out, he asks about, what about my child, my baby? Because his wife, still trapped in the carriage that is tipped over, is dead, but she protected the baby, still alive, still crying. And even before this wealthy man woke up, they were, trying to pry the rings off his wedding band off his hand and stuff. And they hear the baby crying, and the Mrs. Dario there's saying oh my God, this baby's still alive. And Dario just goes, fuck it, it'll be dead soon. I want this ring.
When's the last time a baby picked someone out of a lineup? Okay, we're fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Babies can't talk to sketch artists. What are you thinking?
Yeah. This wealthy man wakes up and, says, oh, thank God, please let me know who you are. I will never forget you helping me this day. This wealthy man introduces himself as George Joestar.
Of the Northumberland Joestars, I guess.
Yeah, after introducing himself, he's quickly, tell me your name before I pass out. Our first instance of monologuing to the audience, I suppose, happens here.
Yes.
This is something that happens throughout basically all of JoJo to varying degrees. There is no subtlety in JoJo.
No.
Everyone has their heart on their sleeve, whether it's to other people or just to the audience, because you are always getting access to their inner thoughts. Even if that inner thought takes minutes to explain, and it somehow took place in less than half a second.
This is a soliloquy-friendly zone, yes.
Yeah, yes. Even from this first scene, JoJo has a certain type of dramatic flair that really makes it feel like you could easily adapt a lot of it into a theater show. Which, I mean, does happen for a decent amount of anime and stuff. But even more here, because the parts where one character just steps off to the side and just talks at the audience is already there.
Yeah. So then we get our first time skip, but this is a pretty normal one. We just went from epilogue to actual or prologue to actual series.
Oh, actually, I should mention before this time skip, one other important thing. You mentioned that there was a mask there.
Yes.
In a briefcase. Yes. Before we go to this time skip, there is blood trailing from the dead, impaled body of the man who was driving the carriage. This trail of blood slowly trickles down and touches that stone mask that has now been thrown out of the suitcase.
And spikes come out.
And spikes from the...
Blood-activated spike mask.
Yeah, the mask, just with a little bit of blood, launches off the ground, big spikes shooting out from the entire outer rim edge of the mask. And it flies at the camera. And then, yes, we get our first time skip in the show.
So now we meet our real central characters. This is the story of the lifelong struggle between Fancy Lad and evil scheming Gutter Boy.
Yes, this time skip is 12 years later, so we get a shot at the Joestar estate, with the George Joestar's son being a 12-year-old boy now, about his name being Jonathan Joestar. We get several scenes switching between the lovely, fanciful, sunny life of Jonathan Joestar playing at his mansion with his dog, Danny, and getting that
big dog, big lovely dog.
Big dog. Great dog. And interspersing that with different shots of Dario Brando, essentially bedridden.
Bedridden, abusive piece of shit.
Yes.
Just raising the most evil gutter snipe of all time, his son Dio.
Yes, his son Dio Brando, who doesn't really seem to give much of a shit about his dad. He's bedridden, coughing his lungs out, while Dio has his back, while he's sitting in a chair facing away from his dad, just reading a book by the fire. Doesn't really seem to care too much about his dad. He's got medicine there, but his dad don't want any medicine. He doesn't want any snake oil. He just wants booze. And while he says that, throws a liquor bottle at his son's fucking head.
Real mixed messages. Do you want it or not, Dad? Come on.
Yeah.
But he's got a letter. He's got a letter for his son and instructions to deliver it to the great big house on the hill, the Joestar mansion.
Oh, and even before that letter, just one other bit here with Jonathan Joestar, establishing what he is like. There's this girl being bullied by two boys. They have her doll. They're throwing it back and forth over her head, and she just cannot get the doll. They're taunting her and all this shit. And, to the point where she begins to cry. Jonathan appears out of nowhere, charging at them, saying like, "Hey, don't you dare mess with this lady." Gets his
ass handed to him.
Yeah, he leaps in and starts just pounding on this guy's stomach with repeated blows, and it's doing nothing because he just sucks at punching, I guess. And this guy who's like getting pummeled and just not being affected by it goes like, "Oh, you must be, who the fuck are you?" Just does a single double-handed punch to the back and just floors Jonathan. He has to fucking pull like a handkerchief to like wipe his nose, and it's got, like his name on it, Jonathan Joestar. They know, oh, you're from that rich family. Well, fuck you stupid hoity-toity kid.
Mm-hmm. But he simply must defend the honor of those in need.
Yeah, I love this part because he tells this girl whose name is Irina that, he doesn't know her. He just leapt in to protect her honor and stuff. But when she tries to thank him, he goes like, fuck you, I don't need your thanks. I do not care about you in reality. You are merely a vessel for me to prove that I am a gentleman. That is why I came to your rescue, because this is what I am supposed to do, not because I care about you. I love that part. Oh my God, I did not take a beating just now for your sake. It was to prove my honor as a gentleman or whatever. All I want to do is conduct myself as a gentleman, I think is what he says.
So it'd be great if you could tell everybody that I'm a gentleman, but like you don't really matter in this situation.
Oh man.
So now Dio Brando arrives in his carriage and exits it in a way one does not exit a carriage.
Oh yes, we do need to talk about that letter though.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, Dario gives Dio this letter. It is from George Joestar. Basically, George has kept his word and is remembering how Dario saved him and his child. And it's basically like, hey, Dario, if you ever need a favor from me, just call it in and I'll do whatever you need. And soon after this, Dario dies. He just fucking eats it. And Dio, visiting Dario's grave, is saying, okay, Dad, you told me to, take this letter, go to the Joestar estate to live with them. I'm calling in the favor. They're gonna, you're gonna go live with them now. Take them for everything they've got. And while Dio's at Dario's grave remembering this, he goes, God, Dad, you were such a fucking asshole. Spits on the grave. I'll do exactly as you asked of me and do what you could never do and fucking rob this rich family of everything they got. But yeah, then when he arrives in the carriage at the Joestar estate, he fucking...
He jumps like 8 feet out of that carriage, superhero landing, drop kicks a dog on the way down.
Yes, yeah, Jonathan Joestar is immediately there, JoJo, going like, oh, you must be Dio. So great to meet you. Oh, then his dog Danny is barking off screen. Oh, there's my dog Danny. He's great. He's an old hunting dog. And yeah, Dio just immediately knees the dog so hard in the face.
Just takes his jaw off. And and this is where we establish that Fancy Lad George is just the fucking worst dad.
He's a bad dad. Yeah.
Apologize to your new adopted brother for making him kick your dog.
Yeah, Dio, he's already had like 3 different like monologues inside of his head. But yeah, he's able to just make the weakest excuses, and George sucks so much he takes them all at face value. Like, oh, I'm sorry, the dog scared me, so I need him very hard in the face. And no real solid apology, just like, oh, I was scared.
And then yet again, internal monologue is, haha, what a fool. He doesn't like it when I kick dogs like a chump.
Yeah. And
people like it when I kick dogs.
Yeah, and it's, oh my God. There's even a shot of like Danny like on the ground just convulsing. It was hit. So it didn't even, get hit and yipe, run away. It's convulsing on the ground. It got owned so hard.
So we get basically a montage of Dio being adopted into the Joestar family and enacting his plan to worm his way in and just like suck them dry, knock them off one at a time.
And one of that
subtlety is for chumps.
Yeah, and one of those like just early things of his plan here is to just have better table manners than JoJo.
Yes.
Because it's already been shown once before earlier in the episode that he eats very sloppily and he like fucking gulps down wine real fast and loudly, and George hates bad table manners. Attacking dogs that is your pet, well, there's excuses for that, but sipping wine too loudly, oh my fucking God, you fucking failure of a son of mine.
Papa Joestar should just read a book about adopting a child into your family. I mean, these are all common issues. It is It might be new to you, but it's not the first time this has happened in the world. There is guidance available.
Yeah.
Playing these kids off each other. He's a bad dad. There's no good dad so far.
No.
Out of 2 dads, both bad.
He's pretty bad.
I wish I could talk about anything as much as D.O. loves to talk about how evil he is. He could go on for hours about how just a cool fucking evil guy I am.
Yeah, like the way D.O. monologues about this stuff gives me the impression that he wasn't formed into this awful evil person by his abusive dad. I think he was straight up born this evil, and it was just augmented by how shitty of a dad he had.
He seems to like his mom. His dead mom.
Yeah, he does seem to have some reverence for his dead mom, who apparently Dario just like drove into the grave, apparently.
And she leapt out 8 feet. That's just how you get out of a carriage in this world. That's the way it works.
It is, yeah.
So now we gotta catch up with this Arena girl. Because now as we move into adolescence, little JoJo, his eyes are open to feminine wiles, but only in the most chaste and gentlemanly ways.
Yes, of course. Just, going to parks, carving your initials into a tree. Just kind of frolicking, I guess, is the word I would use. Yeah. Frolicking.
And after we've hung on Dio's every single word for like 12 years of his life, Arena just gets kind of a montage. I don't think she talks in this sequence.
Yeah.
Wow. You really see it.
Yeah. So JoJo, especially at the start, doesn't do much with women characters. I'm guessing that's probably because Araki didn't know how... Well, okay, there's a couple reasons. I'm thinking, 1, he didn't know how to write the women, maybe. And 2, at least at the time when he was making JoJo at the start, there were times where he tried to have female characters do more things, and then his editors would say, the kids who read Shonen Jump don't want to see girls do stuff. And so he would have to like edit that shit out.
I'm sorry. There was a Bulma focused chapter 3 months ago where the woman quota is used up.
Yeah. But yeah, after that like montage, Dio is like sneaking behind a tree and just thinking to himself like, God, even after all this stuff I'm doing to make, Jonathan's life hell, like earlier when they had like a boxing match and he beat the shit out of Jonathan and like jammed his thumb in his eyeball for the extra like coup de grace.
Constantly talking about how you can't be a real fighter unless you grow up in the slums.
Yes, yeah. He's thinking like, God, JoJo's mood is too good. It must be because of that arena. I have to take this away from him too. Hiding behind the tree where their initials are carved in, that JoJo carved in. He finds Arena, and just with his 2 friends, which were the people bullying Arena earlier in the episode, he just fucking kisses her out of nowhere.
Yes. And they all make fun of because the whole point isn't to worry about her. Like, yeah, she's pretty distressed. But the point is to mock JoJo for his girlfriend getting assaulted, and because that makes him a loser.
Yeah, yes,
what
somehow.
The fuck?
It's fucking bizarre. Whoa, hey. But
she's the only person who like gets one over on Dio, and it's just like degrading herself further by washing her mouth out with a mud puddle.
Yeah. And it's
this gets under his skin.
Yeah, that's the first thing to actually piss Dio off, is that insult to his kiss, I guess. I should also point out, during this part where he's thinking to himself like, aha, I have kissed her, and I have denied JoJo the comfort of friendship and love via this. Frequently, when people in JoJo are just thinking to themselves, you will not just see them standing there, not animating, rather you will get like a psychedelic colored version of them in their mind with like repeating patterns and geometric shapes floating around them. They're always like bright neon colors and stuff.
It becomes very like Studio Giallo. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like a trademark of JoJo, is both in people's thoughts and in, we'll see it later in the episode too, just in certain scenes, things will be colored wildly differently based on the mood of stuff. So when things are when things are going bad for a character or things getting really serious, suddenly everyone's hair will be a different color because everything will be tinted just by like a single color value. And this is something like reflected in the manga too, especially later parts of JoJo. Things are almost never colored normally at a certain point. Everything's always like kind of psychedelic colors. And that's just something I really like about JoJo. The anime actually tries to keep a lot of the actual elements of the manga itself when it can, including, and it's already happened in this episode, comic book style onomatopoeias just floating in the frame.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's more animosity, more confrontation, more seething resentment between these two boys with their dead moms and their shitty dads. And oh man, the parallels.
As another small thing, like Dio has turned basically all of Jonathan's friends against him by saying
yes, he says that JoJo is a snitch.
Yeah.
What did he snitch about? No idea.
No one knows.
Seems to ask the follow-up question.
But yeah, Dio is just such a smooth talker. He's convinced all of his friends that Jonathan sucks.
But that's not the height of his youthful villainy. No. It's not enough to kick a dog in the face. You have to incinerate a dog alive.
Yeah. Oh my God. Even before the dog gets incinerated, Jonathan figures out that like Arena's acting weird around him. Dio must have done something. He gets real pissed, goes back home to find Dio reading the book, and they get into a fight. They start punching the shit out of each other.
Oh yes, this is important. Yes.
Yeah, while Dio previously had beaten Jonathan in this boxing match, Jonathan's
easy, hands down.
Super easy. Jonathan's pissed now, and even though Dio lands like some hard blows on him, Jonathan just bounces right back and just like fucking floors Dio, actually makes his nose bleed, draws a lot of blood, punches him to the floor, and when he punches Dio, blood goes flying. And in the main room, the foyer of the Joestar estate, on the wall is that stone mask from the start of the episode. And Dio's blood goes flying, gets splattered all over the mask, and the spikes activate again, and it pushes it off the wall.
Out, yeah, falls to the ground. Bum, bum, bum. But now, yes, this insolence is what inspires Dio to go find Danny and throw him in the garbage incinerator.
Yeah, puts him in a crate. I love like the Joestar estate like butler, putting that box and lighting the fire, just sitting there lighting a smoke, and then hearing scratching and scuffling from inside, and for like 20 long seconds just going, "Oh no, there must be something in there. What could it be? Uh-oh," and doing nothing about it. And then it's just bam, a hard cut to there's a little doggy grave in the yard. Mm-hmm. "I'm so sorry, Jonathan. Danny's dead. He got thrown in the incinerator. We think it might have been a burglar."
JoJo, little Johnny boy, there is a gun somewhere on this estate, okay? y'all do fox hunts, right? Come on. He was a hunting dog. It was an accident. Come on. I thought Dio was a quail. Come on, Dad. Yeah. You're an idiot. You'll accept that.
Yeah. God. So, yeah, JoJo goes back to bed, and he cries himself to sleep over the death of Danny. And the episode ends with Dio just thinking, essentially, haha, I may have even the score killing his mutt, but, JoJo's way stronger than I thought. I'm going to have to get even more evil. I'm going to have to really fuck this shit up. And he finds himself thinking that his one vulnerable spot, Dio's one weakness, is his anger, and he has to take control of that. Mm-hmm, and then after that, the episode ends because the show also has a narrator who has is very dramatic.
Oh yeah, again, subtleties for chumps. We have no place for that here.
Totally. The camera at the end of the episode just focuses on the stone mask, and the narrator says 7 years pass, so we get our next time skip next episode.
Next episode is episode 2, A Letter from the Past. And so, yeah, we've skipped ahead.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to say the ending credits are something to behold, because this is the beginning of JoJo, the anime, always using, like, rock music and other popular songs from the 80s and 90s from the West for their ending credit theme. This is the song they're using here, of course, is Roundabout, which is a big JoJo meme, because the little to be continued like lower third that slides in as roundabout begins was like a really good template for editing in jokes and shit.
8.5 minute song.
Yeah.
About 3 of those minutes are really good.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
That's English prog rock in the 70s for you.
Yeah, the credits usually uses the good part, but sometimes they do slide it around. But before we get to that, the second episode, I just want to ask you, from the little bits you've probably seen and heard absorbed on the internet just from people talking about JoJo, is this where you thought the series would start?
You know, I knew that I was in for like a multi-generational story of supernatural adventure. That like it was the familiar bits weren't in the beginning yet. Okay. That it starts and then develops into the thing people won't shut up about. Yes. Yeah, because I wasn't sure exactly where we were starting, but I was expecting something a little... something more like this, you know, a foundation from which to build and develop and shift.
Sure. Yeah, because that was not how it happened for me, because when I started watching this several years ago, all I knew were like the 1 or 2 things people don't shut up about. So when the first episode starts and it is the late 1800s, and it's just
fancy boys being angry at each other.
It's just fancy lad quarrels over the family estate. I was like very confused where this like that it started like that. I actually kind of love that it starts this way now. And I also love that if you took the stone mask out of this first episode, there would be no hint that this would become like a shonen battle show. You'd think it was just like a drama almost.
I mean, the boxing match kind of lays that out. And just the way that like it comes up in my notes more in the second episode, but the way that everything is presented as a fight, and fights are so like chess matchy. If I X, then he will Y. Yes. So like the seeds are planted.
Yeah, this is, even from the get-go, there are elements of that in JoJo, but the further JoJo has gone on, the more the battles have become chess matchy style things. It is far less concerned with just blank X person punched harder so they won, and more with how did they figure out to land the final hit and stuff like that, which is one of my favorite qualities of JoJo. It's one of the reasons why the battles are actually interesting after a certain point.
Okay, well, we will get to that point eventually. For now, we have to talk about episode 2, A Letter from the Past. And we start with this incredible swerve because the narrator's back, setting the stage. We've gone from preteens to burly young men. Start with the narrator talking about the Whitechapel murders. And so your first thought is, oh, Dio grows up to be Jack the Ripper. Yes. No. The point of this is that Dio is more evil than Jack the Ripper, an entirely separate man.
God, yeah, that's the just saying, oh, Jack, for how terrible Jack the Ripper is, the feud between JoJo and Dio would unleash something far worse upon the world. What the fuck could that be? This is Jack the Ripper. What? It's such a good fucking opening.
But then, we rejoin our hero boys on the rugby pitch, and the fancy lad got big.
He is fucking huge.
He's huge.
So, they're playing rugby. The announcer actually says JoJo's height in centimeters, and I just converted that to feet, and he's like 6'4". He's and it's not even just his height. He's just
500 pounds of muscle.
He is fucking massive. He is just like a brick shit house.
We see him wearing like a suit in a few scenes, and I'm like, what was the tailor thinking? You walk in there like, my templates don't do that.
Yeah, God, this man needs enough clothes to cover 5 men. He's so big. He's just wide.
Speaking of 5 men, that's how many JoJo carries down the pitch. He cannot be tackled. But no, he doesn't cross the line himself. No. A lateral pass to his adopted brother, because sometimes the path to victory lies in the help of the guy who killed your favorite dog. And so the crowd goes wild. The collegiate sports press is just slobbering over these two. They're also big shippers because they really want to know what each one thinks of the other.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. this was their final game. They're both ready to graduate soon. D.O. is getting a degree in law, and JoJo is studying archaeology.
Specifically, the mysterious stone mask that hangs in their foyer.
What is the mystery behind this mask? But yeah, while they have won the match and Dio's being interviewed, Jonathan is looking at Dio, thinking like, oh, it's been 7 years. I still
fucking hate his ass.
Yeah, I still can't trust Dio, no matter all these years where we've made up and we've been friends and stuff. Like, there's just something off about this. And then we immediately cut to Dio, and he is also thinking, God, I hate JoJo. God, I hate fucking playing buddy with this dude, but my plans are coming to fruition soon, and all this shit. At long last, the Joestar fortune will be mine.
So they go home, they see Papa George, who is in bed convalescing. He's weak and frail.
This cold that he has just won't go away. Like, he's getting a little better, but he's just got a cough that just won't leave him. And they're getting along, talking about their rugby match and all this shit.
They do a little dance, which is something.
Yeah, they do a little dance. Yeah, we cut to JoJo working on the stone mask, trying to figure out its mysteries, because he noticed while they were fighting 7 years ago, the blood from Dio activating the mask.
Which is fucking weird.
Yeah. So he's got like a book full of notes that he's written studying the mask. He takes a knife and drops a little drip of blood from his finger onto the mask to make the spikes come out. He's still just like, God, I don't know what the fuck this is for. But he goes to go through the family library to get some books to look up, what this mask could be and all that. And he accidentally knocks some stuff down, and one of the things slipped in between a bunch of the books was the letter from Dario Brando. All those years ago.
Bum, bum, bum.
And when he begins...
he begins to read it, and he makes a discovery, and then he vows to be friends no more with Dio Brando, the guy who has sworn to ruin your life. Yeah, don't be friends with him. He's not a good friend.
Yeah. He confronts Dio on the second floor leading up to their dad's room, because Dio is carrying... Which is
another great example of the drama-powered lighting in the Joestar mansion.
Yes, I love it. But yeah, Dio is carrying a tray with some water and George's medicine on it. He's been doing that in place of the butler, because the butler's getting old and it hurts to go up the stairs.
After 40 years of burning dogs for your father, my legs just don't have it in him.
Oh, man. But yeah, before he can reach George, JoJo is confronting Dio about this letter, saying, hey, guess what this letter is? Guess who wrote it? And he starts reading it out to Dio, pointing out that these symptoms that Dario Brando himself had enlisted in the letter before he died are extremely similar to that of George's symptoms.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh my God. And yeah, essentially accusing Dio of poisoning slowly both Dario and George.
So Dio knows that the jig is up. He has to do something, but not before he insults JoJo by calling him a cur. He fucking hates dogs. His favorite insult is to call someone a dog.
JoJo basically tells Dio, like, hey, I'll drop this entire issue if you can just swear on your father's honor that this is not poison. Saying that while knowing that Dio must fucking hate his dad so much that he can't do it. And yeah, he can't. He just fucking can't swear in his father's honor. And he gets, like, visibly, like, caught off guard when asked to do that. But yeah, Dio takes one punch at JoJo, and I love that it doesn't faze him at all. Like, he doesn't even get knocked back or anything.
No, because he got beefy.
He got
real beefy.
Now, Dio also got beefy, but JoJo...
Super beefy.
JoJo is noticeably, like, he is fucking thick, this dude. Like, he is almost as wide as he is tall somehow.
He spent all those years hidden in the weight room. Absolutely. Yeah. JoJo goes to the one place he knows some mysterious apothecary might know something about poisons.
Yeah.
He takes a journey toward Ogre Alley in good old London town.
Oh, man. Okay, so this is the second instance of this happening, and it's not a thing that's going to happen like every other episode, but it is a fairly common thing when JoJo gets to Ogre Alley. He looks down an alleyway, and there's literally like an ogre face, like coming out of the wall at the end of this alley. But a cat jumps out of the snow at the end of this alley, and it's carrying a dead puppy that it's eating in its mouth.
Yes!
And JoJo...
This is the turning point. This is the dog violence that is... that turns what the show has been into, like you were saying, the show it has the reputation of being. This is the threshold dog violence.
Yes. A shorthand for villainy that comes up a lot throughout the many parts of JoJo is evil things killing dogs for no reason. Not even like, hey, this dog's in my way, I will kill it. No, it's just the dogs just get killed, man.
Before this dog dies, it is a historical drama where everyone's acting really extra.
Yes.
But after this dog dies... It's a supernatural fight boy show with colorful costumes, people doing weird fights. We're about to meet a man with a knife hat.
Yeah.
It's about to get real shonen anime up in here. And while some might say that the threshold is entering Ogre Alley itself, I say no. It's when that cat ate a puppy.
God. Yeah, while JoJo is going to trying to figure out the origin of this poison and how to cure it, Dio is JoJo ordered a bunch of servants to guard George, and there's like 8 doctors there, and only they could administer medicine to George now. Don't take anything from Dio or the butler or anybody else. So Dio can't do much right now, but he also actually happens to know about the stone mask. He also noticed when it popped off the wall all those years ago. And so
it's a pretty weird thing. It's noticeable.
Pretty weird, yeah. He is breaking into JoJo's desk drawer to take the mask, and his plan is to, when JoJo gets back, to just put the mask on him and make the spikes impale his brain.
Yeah.
He's just going to straight up murder him.
Because what cop is going to know to look for a blood-activated spike mask? It's the perfect crime.
It is. But yeah, while JoJo is in London, in Ogre Alley, he is approached by 3 men, ruffians, gangsters.
Ruffians. I like ruffians.
Yeah, I'd say ruffians. Yeah, but they're all charging at JoJo, getting ready to attack him, kill him, and mug him, take his stuff. And this first man just leaps at JoJo with a knife. And JoJo just grabs the knife with his bare hands. And the guy's like, wow, you're a crazy motherfucker, but I'm just going to yank the knife back, and I'm just going to slice all your fingers off. But before he can do that...
But if you cut off my fingers, I will pulverize your balls.
Yeah. Yeah, JoJo's threat is just, hey, I'm already locked onto your balls, and I'm going to kick them really hard, so don't do that.
I have target lock.
And also saying, like, hey... I don't care if you cut my fingers off because my drive is to protect my family, and I'm fucking crazy right now.
I mean, just looking at the fashions here, looking at the sort of language being used, I have to say this is all incredibly historically sound.
Yes.
This is exactly what 1880s London was like to a T.
But yeah, JoJo very handily beats the 2 of the 3 guys, and the guy left is kind of like the boss of the group here. Yeah, he starts talking a little bit of trash to this guy, and says, if you're looking to lose body parts, stick around, and goes, hey, check this out. And he flicks the brim of his hat, and the brim pops off, and the brim inside is just razor blades. Knife blades, and he can do hat tricks where he flips it in the air and it goes flying, and he can have it run from one arm to the other behind, across his shoulders, and flick it back onto his head.
He's very good with his knife hat. He has incredible knife hat skills.
Yeah.
His name is Robert E.O. Speedwagon, by the way.
Yes, so this is one of the first instances of another tradition throughout JoJo. Characters and other important things are very frequently named after Western bands and musicians. Robert E.O. Speedwagon being a very obvious one.
Yeah, named for Champaign, Illinois' own REO
Yes.
Speedwagon.
Yeah, very close to where I work. There is Robert E.O. REO Speedwagon Lane.
Oh,
Yeah, they get named after that. That's the barbecue place we go to. That's that road. That's where it is.
I can't fight this feeling any longer, and that feeling is a need for barbecue.
Ooh.
I mean, there's Dio himself.
Yes, Dio as well.
So go listen to Heaven and Hell from when Dio was the singer of Black Sabbath. You'll have a good time.
Yeah. I should mention, it doesn't happen in these first 3 episodes, but a lot of times you're going to have a fun little game to play where you hear the name of a new character and you go, okay, what reference is that? But it's made a little bit harder because a lot of the names have to be slightly changed to avoid like lawsuits. So here's an example from like a much later part of JoJo, and it's not even a spoiler. There is something in a later part called Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Its new name, so they don't get sued, is Filthy Acts Done at a Reasonable Price.
Which is the name of my OnlyFans.
So, yeah, there's lots of times where there's going to be really goofy names. It's like, wait, what the fuck is that name? Oh, it's this metal band. I got it. But yeah, Speedwagon charges at JoJo. He throws his knife hat. It goes spinning. It's hard to track, and it embeds into JoJo's arm. Speedwagon saying, it sounds like it has gone all the way down to the bone. And that doesn't matter.
Which he can tell through his passive sonar.
Yeah. And that doesn't actually matter. JoJo just kicks the shit out of him anyways.
Yes. And Speedwagon thinks an entire paragraph about what is happening in the time it takes to fall down.
After he's defeated, like dozens upon dozens, maybe even hundreds of ruffians appear carrying a wide array of weapons, scythes, like sickles, knives, a whole bunch of shit. Torches. Before any of them can attack him, Speedwagon, who is apparently the boss of all of these hundreds of men.
He's the Ogre King.
Yeah, he's the Ogre King. He goes, hey, none of you fuck with this guy. I can tell he's a nice dude because he didn't utterly kill me. This dude who is ready to just murder somebody just for some like pocket change possibly is now so devoted to JoJo because he could he could just feel JoJo's gentlemanly spirit through combat. That he is like a sworn brother for life now. It's just that easy.
Meanwhile, Dio has arrived in London, just drinking whiskey in an alley in his big feathered overcoat.
God, I love the feathered overcoat. But yeah, he's getting drunk and he's like lamenting that he is just like his dad. He is also an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some 2 other dudes just start like taunting him, making fun of him, like, "Hey, what with this." This fucking drunk that's just hanging out. This guy sucks or whatever.
And so Dio gets the idea to do a dry run, a dress rehearsal of his murder plan.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, he kills one dude, puts the blood on the mask of the other, puts the mask on the other dude, and yeah, the spikes come out and kill him.
It works great. He's feeling good, except that guy gets back the fuck up. He's a vampire. The mask makes vampires.
Yup. The vampire is absurdly strong. Dio picks up a knife while this vampire is lunging at him. The knife goes clean between like 2 of the vampire's fingers and cleaves his hand in half, and it doesn't matter. The broken hand smashes into a wall and like just utterly destroys it, like, just makes a crater out of the wall.
Dio gets thrown 40 feet, and in his internal monologue, he's so proud that he calls that a glancing blow.
Oh, man.
But this is a surprisingly standard vampire. He looks kind of vampire-y. I guess the one exception is that he tries to drink Dio's blood by penetrating his neck with fingers instead of fangs.
Yeah, vampires in the JoJo world can totally suck blood through their fingers.
Yeah. But the most traditional thing we see is that this fight is happening moments before the dawn, and as the sun comes up over the Thames, this random street vampire is desiccated to ash.
Yep. One, I love Dio's monologue of just thinking like, wow, thank fuck the sun came up. Takes the mask back. And he returns home, sits down, all the lights are off.
Which
But,
means either Papa is dead
Yep.
or JoJo just wanted to set the mood. It's impossible to tell. I do not know.
Yeah, JoJo is there in the dark. He lights a candle and goes, Dio, I know exactly what you've done, and you're going to answer for your crimes. And that's the end of episode 2.
And that's the end. That's the first time the to be continued meme makes sense.
Yes.
Yes.
Not every episode, but frequently Roundabout begins before the credits even show up, which is a really fun element of like, it's fun to have that lead
Here
up.
comes the big cliffhanger. Here
Yeah.
comes, some's coming.
Yeah, something's coming. But yeah, that is episode 2.
Episode 2. Episode 3, Youth with Dio. What were the first 2 episodes about then? But yes, Youth with Dio. This is, like I said earlier, where I put in my notes that everything is a fight. We've got our harsh colors, our internal strategy monologues, even though this is an argument. No one's punching. It is a fight of words and evidence.
And also, I just want to point out that like it started the previous episode, but this episode as well. Like, man, the opening intro for this season kicks ass.
The second episode is the first time it's shown.
Yeah.
The third episode is the first time elements of it begin to make sense.
Yes.
It's an emulation of the manga art applied to 3D models and taking the stylization even more than the regular episode information. Animation.
Yeah.
And
they straight up
panels flying all over and a lot of motifs, a lot of, props, and I would assume further moments represented in the OP.
Yeah, totally. The show uses CG intros for quite a while. Yeah, one of the cool things about the intros upon a second watch, there's a lot of details in it that you would never notice unless you knew what was going to happen. So when you go back, it's like, oh shit, that thing. Even like really big events are sometimes like sneakily foreshadowed via the way they storyboard their opening intros. It's really cool.
But again, the show is unspoilable, so there you go.
It's true. Yeah, even if I said anything, it's just like, fucking what? All right. Guess I'll wait and see.
Sure, the statue is important, whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, in this opening where Dio is being left to plead his case however he can, that statue, giant statue in the middle of the grand hall of the Joestar mansion, does get some good framing. It's conspicuous.
Yeah, I will say the show is it's an extremely accurate adaptation of the manga. I guess part of the reason why is because, it started in the 80s and they have so much material, there's no need to make filler. You just have the raw pacing of the manga. And they cut very little out. The only thing they've really cut out was the level of violence inflicted upon Danny.
Oh no.
So Danny was, lit on fire just like in the show, but in the manga, he actually is able to get out. He bursts out of the furnace, but it's a dog on fire and all of his skin is burned off. They took that part out. If
boy.
If there's anything cut out from the show, it's usually just like, we don't need to see the dog actually on fire.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, the interrogation of Dio, who, by the way, now has one arm in a cast due to that glancing blow from a vampire. But yeah, while JoJo's confronting Dio is trying to he's trying to weasel out of it. And he's trying to, by trying to admit guilt and show remorse, like, God, I am so sorry. I am a messed up person. I need help.
And
please.
JoJo's starting to fall for it. He would believe Jason Voorhees if he said he was just here to trim the hedges.
Yeah. While this is happening, we get another monologue and we get to see Dio's thoughts again. And he's thinking, God, I hope Jonathan buys this for just long enough that he gets in striking distance, because he's inside like his cast, hidden on top of his arm is got the mask, and he's waiting for JoJo to get in striking distance so he can kill him.
And this particular knife that is important. The knife that split the hand.
Yes.
Dio is thinking that the knife is somehow related to the mask magic. And maybe he's right. I don't know.
But Dio is like fake crying. He's making, he's turned the waterworks on. And just
but that's not going to work, because JoJo's got backup. REO Speedwagon is here. to demonstrate that he's such a fine judge of character.
Yes.
And he does this by giving his life story for some reason. You can just say he's lying. I don't need your bona fides.
Oh, the name is Robert E.O. Speedwagon. Yeah, I love that this criminal is somehow like an incredible judge of character.
He's a walking lie detector, this guy.
Yeah. And while he's like talking about how Dio's like a filthy liar and he's seen his type before, he kicks a candle at Dio for no real reason.
Also, he emphasizes the fact that babies can be evil. That is a thing that is true.
Yeah, I forgot about that part. He does do that. Jesus Christ. He's been evil since he drew his first breath, I think is what he said.
Babies can be evil.
Those babies can totally be evil. But yeah, while Speedwagon's talking about this, they have a big curtain drawn just so this can be even more dramatic.
So yeah, this difficult decision of what to do with his adopted brother, whether to offer clemency as a gentleman, is taken away from him by cops. Because cops are just going to do what they do.
Yep. They have the apothecary Dio got the medicine from. They brought him all the way back to the mansion. Yeah, they just pull back the curtain and aha, there's 8 cops here, and also George Joestar, who is healthy now. He's gotten an antidote for the poison.
And probably thinks Dio's the better son, even still.
Probably, like, goddamn. There's also this little thing where, like, the apothecary is thinking to himself that, like, Dio looks like he's in trouble right now, but I've read the moles on his ear, because Dio has 3 little moles on the lobe of his left ear. And it's like, that's like the marking of an incredibly lucky person.
He has the luck of the devil, that one.
Yeah.
So the cops move in, and then Dio hatches the perfect plan. It seems that you cannot arrest a vampire. He masks himself, and then plays dead for a while as the foul transformation takes hold.
Yeah, he goes to stab JoJo, and George Joestar gets in the way and gets stabbed in the back. But that blood, he uses George Joestar's blood on the mask. He just gets fucking loaded up with bullets. All the cops just unload their clips into him. And he gets shot so hard he goes flying out a window.
And so now it's time for a flashback.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this flash. And it's not even a flashback from like a character we know. It's just one of the cops who hasn't said much at all yet.
Yeah. The cop has to explain how it's all his fault because he knew that George was too soft-hearted and he should have taken the decisions away from him and locked up Dario and Dio years ago when he had the chance. This is our look back at what their life was in between the prologue to regular episode time skip.
Yeah.
George Joestar has the sort of nobility beyond common sense.
Yes.
that only exists in like fables.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the sort of hand extended to someone who's undeserving that you would expect from like a talking fox sort of story.
Yeah.
It all revolves around him insisting that Dario has his wife's wedding band as a gift, not because he stole it. This is literally the story from like the Bishop and the Candlesticks from the beginning of Les Miserables. It's literally that.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so I want to bring up real quick some of the things. The author of JoJo, Araki, has a lot of inspirations that very clearly show in his work. One of them is he is a big fucking like art history nerd.
Okay.
That likes to seep through in a lot of his stuff. Even though like a lot of the situations are super fucking absurd, he loves to try to base them in real history and then make them really fucking crazy by putting vampires and shit in them. And he also he fucking loves Italy. That's just a thing that's going to come up a lot.
There's a lot of art history in Italy.
Yeah.
There's an overlap there.
So like just keep in mind that he's like a big art history nerd and loves like, you know, varying movements of art because that stuff shows up a lot in different ways. Yeah, after that flashback, George Joestar is saying his final words to JoJo. You know, what's a better way to die than in my son's arms? Yeah, he dies. Speedwagon is moved to tears. saying rich folks are rubbish, but that guy was great.
Yeah, and what makes that guy great is also in his son.
Yeah, he has passed on the torch to, like, he hasn't died, he's just transferred over to JoJo or whatever.
He is as confident in his ability to read people as Dio is in his own evil.
Yeah.
Like, he cannot shut up about how good he is at figuring out what makes people tick.
Yeah, and while this is happening, people suddenly notice, wait a minute, Dio's body is gone.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh my god.
So he appears, he picks up a police officer, throws him into somebody else hard enough for his limbs to detach from his body.
Yeah, and those limbs also somehow flying so hard that they hit Speedwagon hard enough to break his limbs.
I need, like, a Mythbusters segment to tell me what kind of force. Measure it in newtons and give me a number.
Yeah, Dio is like leaping onto like the ceiling and just hanging out there, sucking the blood out of police officers, killing them, turning them. They are turning into other vampires, I guess, or other zombies rather.
Speedwagon just proving that he was born to be an anime sidekick.
Oh, yeah, he was born
tough, but not tough enough to do the really important stuff.
Yeah,
but always there to explain the guy he's sidekicking for's like thoughts and actions.
Yep.
And also explain to him things he doesn't quite realize.
Yeah, like Speedwagon does try to do the protagonist move. Like when Dio first comes up and he's just slowly walking towards JoJo, he's like, yo, you got to shoot him, JoJo, and he can't pull the trigger, so he just grabs a cop's gun and just fucking blasts Dio right in the head. But he's a vampire, so that don't do shit to him. that is one of Speedwagon's only attempts at like being more proactive than the protagonist, and it does not work out for him.
He has an absolute knack for establishing what's happening either through words or deeds, and that's what I need in my sidekick. Dio tells us that the power of the mask is to unlock the brain's hidden potential. Yes. I did not know that the brain's hidden potential was vampirism. Good to know.
Maybe it's just one form of it. I don't know. Maybe there's different buttons you can push in the brain to get other things out of it, but...
Not many people know this, but the Limitless pill makes vampires.
Oh, man.
You know that Scarlett Johansson movie? Vampires.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Not long after that, he's talking my language, shouting out Polonius.
Yes.
Because somebody's hiding behind a curtain, and that somebody needs to die.
Yes. I should, right before that happens, we should bring up, because it just shows up so damn much in this fight. JoJo pulls a gigantic fucking spear off of a suit of armor to fight Dio with. And, Dio's so strong that even though, like, the spear gets impaled through his hand, he can just bend the spear and snap it, and now the spearhead flies into JoJo's, like, shoulder.
And it stays there for a very long time.
A really long time. But yeah, Dio's talking about Polonius and shit, slowly advancing towards a curtain he believes JoJo is hiding under. Or behind, and when he pulls the curtain back, somehow there's a raging inferno behind it he could not hear until the curtain was pulled.
I mean, blackout curtains, they work. Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say.
But yeah, both JoJo and Speedwagon hid behind that curtain, lit the fire back there so that they could set Dio on fire and hopefully burn him to death. But it's not quite working because Dio's regenerative vampire powers are still stronger than the fire.
They're fighting. They're doing fights. JoJo's outfit is revealing more of his biceps, and that he is basically a He-Man doll.
Yeah.
Like, he's giant arms, giant torso.
So the anime does a very good job of like adapting the art style of JoJo, but while like cleaning it up, because the very start of JoJo, like Araki has been doing the manga for so long that his art has improved, and also the style has changed over time. So the different parts of the anime adapt the different styles of art the way they were drawn, but they do clean them up because like the original JoJo volumes, he was very much emulating the style of Fist of the North Star, which you can still kind of see. JoJo has the super thick blocky eyebrows. He's super huge, just like Ken. He wasn't super great at drawing yet, so like the beefiness of JoJo is even more in the anime. He has a tiny little pinhead, and he has arms thicker than trees. Like, I'll have to send you like a panel at some point because it is hilarious how beefy he is. Dio walks up a wall. That's fun.
He does. Vampires do that.
And it's not even just like, his mystical vampire powers just lets him walk upon a surface. He's like jamming his feet into the wall so he can make footholds. And that's fun. He's also got like a real saunter up the wall. He's got one hand in a pocket and he's doing like a big shoulder sway, like he's walking on the catwalk while he's going up that wall. It's good.
Maybe this is the moment where JoJo becomes JoJo.
It might be, actually, yeah.
It still might be when the cat eats a puppy.
It still might be that. I don't know. It could be the knife hat. I don't know. There's so many parts. It's like, that's where JoJo starts. No, that's where JoJo... But, so Speedwagon got, like, exploded out of the mansion, so now he's narrating the combat outside.
Yes, yeah, he's doing his job, and he takes it seriously.
He really does. But JoJo is trying to climb higher and higher up to the roof.
The point is to burn the entire mansion down around Dio, make a fire so hot it burns him faster than his vampire regenerating powers can deal with it.
Yeah. I love when they get to the roof because all of a sudden the fire is a bright purple and it's lighting everything as such.
And this is how you save money on a cremation for George.
Oh,
and
yeah.
also all the police and really everybody.
It's one and done. What do we do with the estate? Just burn it.
JoJo is sort of sacrificing himself to destroy the evil that is Dio. That is his plan.
Yeah.
To keep him in the house in order for it to all burn down around him. This is his struggle. They have some serious fucking punch-em-ups.
Yeah. I love the aspect of JoJo tackles Dio while they're on the roof so that they're back in the mansion and they're falling. They're falling to the first floor. This mansion's only like 3 or 4 stories or something like that, and they are falling for minutes. Minutes.
As each one describes how they perceive what's happening and what their next steps will be. And also Speedwagon is doing the same from outside.
Yeah, it rules. Like
there is a 6-story fall for like each dramatic aside, and they just keep stacking up on one another. But during this fall, Mr. Joestar finally takes that spear out of his shoulder after half an episode.
Yeah, while tackling Dio, Dio just like jams his hand into a wall so he stops falling, and JoJo goes falling into the fire. But the spear he dislodged from his shoulder catches up with him, so he grabs the spear, jabs it in the wall, uses it as a foothold to jump up at Dio. Not quite enough to catch up, so he unbuckles his belt and uses it to wrap it around Dio's ankle to pull him down with him.
It's very good. It's very good.
Yeah.
JoJo is one of my favorite kinds of action hero in that he survives through grit and determination and being able to survive a beating long enough to finally get whatever it is in that will, take out this much more powerful opponent.
Yes.
Look at any good Indiana Jones fight.
Yes.
Only times 1,000.
Yeah, and that's the trademark of basically every JoJo protagonist and like fight in general is that the stakes or the odds are usually way against them, or it's just like a foe who is so powerful in such a unique way that you're just like, how do you even fucking tackle something like this? I've never met a vampire. I didn't even know those are real. I have to fight one on the fly right now.
I would really like to grieve my shitty dad right now, but no.
But yeah, while they're falling, JoJo kicks the wall, and the narrator explains, like, by pure luck, the statue that has been framed earlier in the episode, by divine providence or something, JoJo kicks towards that statue, which is holding a very sharp, pointy thing.
And a statue of Antonin Chekhov.
Yeah. JoJo impales Dio clean through the statue, and he cannot escape, and he burns to death.
He couldn't have done it without his real sidekick, that chunk of armor that I'm naming Ario Spearwagon. But yes, now Dio is defeated as the embers fall, and our pair of heroes survive to bro another day. But what? What's this? Wait.
Oh my god.
In the morning's light, some of these burned timbers shift, and Dio has survived.
Yeah, Dio survived. The apothecary who was captured earlier, who escaped during that nightmare fight, he is searching for the stone mask, and he finds it in the rubble, and as he's reaching for it, Dio's hand shoots out from the rubble and sucks up all of his blood. To be continued. Dio's alive.
Continued.
Super burned. I love that if you didn't have that little to be continued at the end, this would, like, the plot would be done and dusted. This could be a movie, and this is where the plot ends. It's a definitive end in 3 episodes. It is, like, such a good little, like, mini arc.
Everybody, like, talking online, like, hey, stick with it until that puppy gets killed.
Yeah.
Then things take a cool shift.
There is very little time in JoJo where you're sitting there waiting for it to get good. It's maybe like an episode and a half's worth of investment. Like,
I mean, an episode and a half to get weird, but I still think that first episode is good.
No, I like that first episode.
It's not a
too.
bizarre adventure, but there are people who like Victorian fancy lads being extra.
Yeah, and that even that alone is good. And I enjoy that it takes like a little bit more than an episode's worth of normalcy before it goes crazy. That's all it really needs to go like, okay, now this shit is weird. But yeah, that's the end of our first 3-episode chunk here. What do you think about JoJo?
I am excited to be on this journey with you and everyone listening. I'm looking forward to getting to the recognizable things.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to getting to the stuff set in the 20th century. And further generations. Yeah. The guy with the hat, he's the guy everybody likes. I want to meet Hat Guy.
This first season of JoJo is pretty interesting because, it's still the part of JoJo where it's kind of figuring out what it is, even though so many of the trademarks of it are there from the get-go. Mm-hmm. There's a couple things that happen here that I still really like in further episodes that might be less shocking now. This manga did a couple of things very early on with its plot that were like big, like you don't do that in a manga published in Shonen Jump. Because Shonen Jump mangas do blank, blank, and blank. If you do this, everyone's going to hate it. And he does that stuff in the story very early on. And I think it's one of the aspects that makes JoJo really stand out, because even like today, it is still doing stuff that no other like shonen manga wants to even do. It's like in its own little world, and no one even really bothers to try. Well, I say almost nobody, but there's actually I'll get more into this like way later down the line when we're actually at this part. But there was a comic in the 90s, like a Western comic that I think Image published or something, that got canceled after one issue because it turned out it was just plagiarizing JoJo stuff extremely hard. Not even changing names. Like they were using...
Is that the one written by like Ozzy Osbourne's kid or something?
Oh God, yeah, it might be actually, yes.
Okay.
But yeah, it just has stands.
Some musician's kid did a comic that got canceled for being entirely plagiarized, and it might have happened more than once.
Yeah, I think it might have been that, but yeah, it's really funny how blatant it is.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, after describing it in detail in our internal monologues as the lighting shifts. Just wanted to correct myself while I edit. The story I was thinking of was a comic called Incarnate, written by Nick Simmons, the son of Gene Simmons, and he was caught plagiarizing a number of titles, particularly Bleach and Hellsing. Again, I wanted to correct the mistake I made, implying that Gene Simmons was a musician. Back to the episode.
I love how quickly Speedwagon shifts into battle commentary sidekick mode.
Yeah, he needs a little headset. He needs a microphone.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to this very first episode. Very excited to watch more of JoJo and talk about it. And next episode, Overdrive, is gonna be a pretty good one.
All right.
While we've started with fights, we haven't really gotten to the fights yet. There's still an aspect that's not there yet that's going to be introduced next episode. So
I'm just picturing R.E.O. Speedwagon introducing himself as a reporter for ESPN, extra special punching news.
It is extra, that's for sure.
So with that, I guess that's the end. Thank you all for joining us on our inaugural episode of Bizarre Podcast, Dogs Must Die. Tell your friends about it. Spread the links around. We are recording this before we're sure what exactly we're going to do with it or when it's going to be out. So like the business stuff is kind of up in the air, as you can tell from me explaining why that's the case. But in any case, more is coming. Wherever you found this, you will have more to come.
Yeah.
Good night, folks.
Thanks for listening. Good night.
Bye.